So the last thing in our agenda is a small panel discussion with our expert panel. Our panel topic today is opportunities and challenges in adopting digital printing in traditional textile industries. So first, I would like to just start everyone to, again, shortly introduce themselves, and then maybe give your kind of what's your aspect in this discussion. Are you a producer? Are you expert in machines, design, etc.? So let's start on with Martin.
My name is Martin Sepp. I am from Geota in Estonia. We are mainly a dealer of wide format printers and cutting machines. We have been in business for 32 years now, and maybe the same amount more.
Thank you.
My name is Karl Arthur Korser, and I am a textile designer that is focused on print design. And yeah, I make prints for everything, pretty much. Anything that has a surface.
Okay. My name is Sigrid Kleine. I'm from SPG Prints, located in the Netherlands. We are a manufacturer of digital printing machines and conventional printing machines, and digital printing inks, water-based and also UV-based. I'm in the lead for the development of digital printing inks, water-based.
Hello. My name is Inna Orlenko, and I present Muse Textile Printing from Riga, Latvia. We are a printing house providing printing services on fabrics for anyone, practically, from a startup to bigger companies. So yeah, that's what we do.
Okay, thank you very much. I really encourage audience to also ask questions. Please wait for the microphone so the recording can really catch your question. But I can start off with a very, very broad question. What, from your perspective, are key challenges traditional textile industries face when integrating digital printing into their existing workflows, and how can they be addressed? Whoever wants to go ahead.
It's really hard to talk about cons because my whole business is built on digital printing, so I can only talk about the pros. But I think the challenge for me is to have access to a larger variety of fabrics. I think this is maybe a problem for me. But I wouldn't say you can always work around it. I think as a designer, you're problem solving constantly. So yeah, I think accessibility to broader selection of fabrics for certain things. I think especially when it comes to heavier draped fabrics, I think it's hard to find the right materials.
I would agree, and I also represent the company who solves this problem. And basically, the more flexibility of the technology we represent gives the designers and the brands the possibility to create what they actually want rather than what they can afford from those fabrics which are available or the technology which is available. So practically you can do more of what you need.
But also don't hold it against any company, because I think you can't be that broad. You have to be a bit more specific of what you do. So I completely understand that keeping the selection small is probably more sustainable than having a massive amount of fabric that's just waiting around.
So we are not in fabric, but we are in inks and in machinery. And I was the second speaker this morning. So I faced a lot of cons this morning of what I told you about the past. So it was very difficult in the beginning to put digital printing through the very traditional textile industry. Luckily, this changed. And we, SPG Prints, is busy with digital printing since the end of the 80s. So, we see this is really needed. What I'm missing still now is, and even if we do digital printing, the philosophy is still sell what you produced. But I think the message must be produce what you sold. If we want to do something regarding sustainability, then this is the only approach, because it's still the same. And yeah, fast fashion. So fast fashion can be mentioned in a positive meaning, but also negative. And we see still a negative meaning of fast fashion. People buy and throw away fast, 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 instead of you can produce in a fast way. So why don't wait until the order is there?
I think this is a really good point, and actually I would like to point out Shane, an awful company, they produce way too many things, but what they do right is that they have production in China that's really close by. So they make a few products, they send it to influence, they see what the demand is, and then according to the demand they produce. So this is actually localized design. I think that's going to come back with the legislations in the EU that are going to come to place with carbon emission and so on. Production has to be close to you. So I think Europe can kind of lead in that way, having close production so you can actually produce up to demand. I think this is a really good point. Yeah.
The word we have heard the most today is sustainability. But what's rare that what we have never discussed here is sustainability in the phase before the production is in place. So once the factory is running and we are producing prints, then we are dealing with the sustainability of this process. But you as a software developer probably, you mentioned, yes? The planning phase is actually also very important. So before you set up your factory, you need to analyze really good if you are wasting anything in this phase. So when you have everything in place, that you have not wasted anything. It has to be scalable, and nothing you have already done could be go to waste.
Okay. Any comments from the audience? Not yet. I think we're getting the courage for the Estonian people. Sigrid, you also mentioned a lot acceptance from traditional textile industry, but also acceptance from maybe clients. That how have you all struggled with like getting really the digital printing into the again, like you said, traditional textile industry?
I think it took time. It took a lot of time, and being flexible. So when you told the example of the customer who wanted a bad result and not that good, I know this. We have faced the same in the beginning. So a customer said, yeah, but this is much too good. And they used the digital printing just for sampling. And then they started the production with screen printing. And there were differences. So there we adapted the software. So, and then we had to convince the customer that digital printing is suitable drying and making production. And therefore we set up this, in Thailand, this digital printing factory. And when people saw that, yeah, Victoria's Secret and Nike and sports brands, that these were using, and we made also the shirts for the Tour de France. So this was also one project. So then people, but it really took time, and nowadays it goes faster and faster. So the beginning was difficult, now it goes faster. But nevertheless, now you have the hurdle with pigment inks. So we produce inks and also pigment inks. And it's the fourth time we do this, and the three first times we failed due to several different circumstances, market, technology, whatever, you name it. But now pigment inks, and still you have a lot of people who say, pigment inks, color's not good. They have prejudgments and they don't want. But we can only consist in showing good quality, and yeah, and then we hope that sooner or later we can convince everybody. But it just takes patience.
And I think it also comes down to education. I think this is a really, it's been a really good thing to do these workshops for people, to actually educate people on why certain things are actually, they think that something is handmade, it's somehow more sustainable, even though you waste more water and pigment in classical printing. And I think, yeah, starting with education is a really valid point.
Always. With education, everything starts.
And from the maybe machinery side, that do you have to really take care that you sell to the traditional textile industry, or is it more that there are service providers who you sell the machinery?
I have very little connection to traditional textile. It's grown from the advertising and promotional industry mostly, and of course we had this Momo making presentation earlier here. That's the very common example of this when it comes to my line of business. But yeah, very little contact with traditional textile. This is, Ina's business is actually the first working digital jump to this fully digital technology that is directly coming from traditional line.
Okay.
Yeah, we also within our work life of our company, we have experienced this gap between the bigger customers. They did not actually believe that much into in the pigment printing and the digital printing. They are used to working in traditional way, but at an early stage, we were concentrated on smaller ones who actually valued the possibilities we offered. So for us, it was not a trouble to enter the market because we just needed to inform people of the new possibilities and the ways to use them online. And that's
so also education, like Kat said. Yeah. Okay.
We didn't really have much choice to do anything else. So I think having access to smaller producers, of course, small brands are really eager to work with smaller quantity. When I started 15 years ago, no one would take into consideration if you want to produce less than 500 meters of fabric. So this has changed.
So the jump from traditional to fully digital, carrying on the same properties like in pigment printing, is very, very expensive compared to sublimation. This is again very cheap. You can get your stuff running in maybe in like 50,000, and you have a fully working solution.
Okay. So as we also discussed today, was that digital printing is very new, as Sigrid also mentioned in her presentation. But do you see any like very fresh emerging technologies or advancements shaping like this digital printing in the next 5, 10, 20 years? Did you see? Probably sustainability is one of the key factors in there, but do you see any, like pigment inks has been?
In pigment industry, the new development within Kornit is the white ink for white format printing, which is already available for a machine like ours, but we haven't installed it yet. It needs an upgrade if you want. But what it allows is to print on colored fabric, not to use white fabric for digitally printing the background if you need, for example, black or navy or whatever, and adding some kind of florals on top, but you can actually print on navy fabric, which saves a lot, and the quality is better in certain way and more long lasting compared to digitally printed all over print. This is something new, and I foresee that this is, I don't know, the ink producers tell me if this is going to be developing or this is something which is just announced and it will not be used that much. I don't know. But yeah, this is the most up to date.
White ink is really very, very difficult. White ink is always made on titanium dioxide, and it has the tendency to sediment. So it's a really a difficult ink, and if you have a working ink, great, congratulations, then use it.
As far as I know, it's working, but it slows down the printing speed.
Yeah.
And
So-
it might be clogging the printheads, we don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it
like
does.
Yeah. White is really very, very difficult. Also, in conventional printing, it's difficult. It always had the tendency to clog everything when it's dry outside and when it's warm. So you should avoid dry and warm temperatures.
We are in Latvia. We have done this already.
Good. Yeah, regarding the ink, I must say for digital, we have only 5 dye groups available for inkjet, and also there are only, for compared with the conventional printing dye range, only very limited ones, which has advantages and disadvantages. So I must say regarding the ink, I don't see, then you really have to go for different paths. Look for alternative dyes. Where can they come from? From algae, from bacteria, from whatever. And this is something, call it natural dyes. With the conventional dyes we have today, they will remain. And they can't, probably they can improve, especially reactive, when you use multifunctional dyes, that they have a better fixation, that you don't have so much wastewater with the after treatment. But in general, I think in the pre and after treatment, there's still something to gain. Also, when you look at the machine construction, maybe it would be, and this already exists, by the way, but it's not accepted by the market. So you have printing machines with an inline pre-treatment. That means you pre-treat only there where also the dye is applied to. This would also save chemistry and wastewater afterwards.
This is what our machine does.
Yeah, Cornet has it, I know. But no, I mean for reactive and for acid, so for other.
This is being developed for reactive, right?
Yeah. So these are the things which are already exist, but maybe still too expensive or generally not accepted, because when you do the inline pretreatment, then the speed goes down. And then probably nobody wants it. So it takes some more time. But if we would now stop developing anything, then it's only a price fight. Because from Asia there comes, quality-wise good products, machinery and inks. But Europe has to do something. We have to go on with development. Otherwise, it's really only price fighting.
White ink will never really work without pre-treatment or some kind of primer, because it's thicker. Then it's mechanically more subject to detaching from the fiber, unless there is a chemical bond, like with pre-treatment, because mechanical doesn't just stick on top of any fiber.
Okay. Now we just heard from Sigrid again that Asia, like China and India, are really pushing into the market, and we are all in Europe. So how have you felt the pressure from either Asia or other parts of the world that you really need to develop faster, or do you, what can we do to keep the competition up in Europe?
Think out of the box, doing something different. So this is really, what we have to do. And what I see, or what I also saw on the last exhibitions, on the International Textile Exhibition things, shows that first they had speed, but real new things came from Asia, and unfortunately not really from Europe. So, think out of the box, do something different.
Do you think that the legislation that's going to come into place in the next years of production being closer to Europe, do you think that that's going to somehow help us with this?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. So what we also see now that for European inks, it's really common that all things are certified. So what you mentioned, So this is standard. And most, not all, but most of the Asian inks are not certified. So there you have already an advantage. And legislation also helps. Sure.
But there has to be some kind of control system in place, and I don't think Europeans can do that right now. It doesn't have the manpower, especially with already printed stuff.
This correct. This correct. So when I see what when we want to ship something to China, the Chinese customs are very, very critical, and if the safety data sheets are not in Chinese, then they reject. In Europe, everything can come in, so nobody's taking care. So this is a real problem. Yeah.
As will be really interesting, because 2024 is supposed to be the year where we have like chemical waste management program in textile industry that's going to come into place. Doesn't sound very, very good for now.
Okay. And also the topic of education kind of ran through here already, but how do you see in your work that do you have enough people who are educated on the topic? Do you need to train your own people yourself, or how is the demand for the workforce?
I actually see fashion students not knowing that much about textiles, which is quite interesting because these things should really overlap and be intertwined. Yeah, people actually don't know that much about textiles, I must say. If I do my workshops, I really see that there's a complete gap in terms of in education of what people know. But I think this is maybe it could put into curriculum starting from an early age, like we do with
Programming
programming and stuff like this. I mean, textiles are so close to our body, and we somehow don't know much about it. Yeah.
I agree. So there's really a gap. And also another thing is also always, no, not always, but very often missing when we talk about sustainability, then most of the time it's water, energy saving, and waste saving. But recycling is also a very important thing. And then we have, for instance, pigment inks on fabric. Yeah, how to remove them? They are not removable.
Yeah, and I think we put so much emphasis on this. You mean the production is 3 phases. It's when you make something, you wear it, and then you recycle it. I think the production side, also sustainability, is like, if we use this, and this becomes more sustainable, but we completely forget about the wear phase of a product. I think how can we educate how to take care of our clothes a bit more? But I think in the EU now is going to be these clothing passports that hopefully going to be a bit more of a advanced level of what this product is made of. I was in Munich last year in August. We have these little chips you can put on clothes, and then you can really easily scan where the fabrics come from and where it's manufactured and so on. I think within those you can also add videos of how to take care of these things. So, yeah.
Ina, do you feel that workforce
within our company, we don't have a huge staff. So far, we did not have many troubles, and we were lucky enough that those people who joined us were really willing to work with this type of idea. So they got trained on the on-site easily and with will. So far, I'm really happy about how it goes, because the team is all enthusiastic and working in one direction to the vision. But generally speaking, in our area, yes, the same thing, that there is less and less trained people within the industry of textiles, and most of those who can be encountered gain the knowledge within their working life. So if you are lucky enough to find someone who had the previous experience in the industry, then you get the trained personnel. And then another approach is to get someone completely with no knowledge and train on site.
Yeah, because I think when clothes have no value and a T-shirt costs less than a sandwich, it's really hard to get people involved in an industry that somehow feels unimportant. Yeah, I see this, especially from a textile industry, textile design aspect, that a lot of people just don't get into this world because they somehow feel that it's...
I somehow always looked at the people who I encounter in this industry, that most of them work there just because of the will of their heart, isn't it? It's not about the career. These are not career people or those oriented to that much into profits, but more about ideas and visions and their will to take part in the creative process. There are very many even technical people in our company who take this aspect seriously, like they want to be part of something, of a creative process. This is how maybe I'm a little bit romantic here, but I think that those who work with textiles and creative stuff are a bit romantic.
But then you talk about the smaller companies.
I tend to do that just because this is mostly our customers.
Yeah.
This is we work with small and medium brands. I don't know much about those who are the sharks in the sea.
So and so. But so the small companies, they really look more into this topic. And I must say, I regularly go to exhibitions, and we have in Germany, there's the Heimtags each January, and there are a lot of really visionary items are shown regarding sustainability. Fabric made from the strangest things you can think about. And this year also regarding dyes, it was really different. So, and it becomes larger and larger. So the aspect of sustainability grows. So there a huge part of education takes place. But people have to go there. No, it's very cheap or maybe also free for students, but this is something where also people should go.
Okay. Are there any questions risen from the audience or comments, remarks? Yes.
I think the real challenge is not the manufacturing of the print and the recycling, but finding people to manufacture the garments. Because the workforce here is way too expensive compared to Asia. If you do printing here or in Asia, the costs, of course, in Asia they are a little bit lower, but when you incorporate all the shipping, then for small amounts, you can better do it locally. And that is something digital inkjet printing enables. Very close to your end user. Like the design, you can design something which you can sell over here. The Chinese won't. So you have to outsource it to China, ship it back here, discover that maybe out of the 10 orders, of the 10 orders, one you have to send back because they did it wrong. That's a lot of waste. And a general problem in the Western culture is, I think, that manual labor is completely regarded as inferior. And there are a lot of people who can do manual labor very well, very satisfactory, and that's something that's gone completely. The knowledge to stitch something together is gone, and that's something I think universities can bring back as well, to make it fashionable again, to make it hip again, that you can really make something locally.
I think the pandemic was a big eye-opener for all of us, that we didn't produce anything over there. We needed like face masks. We had to rely on the Chinese companies to get anything over here. So we work with a lot of local producers over here. So we have actually a couple of factories that we work in Tallinn. So yeah, if something is missing, if some label is missing, one is actually on the same floor in the same building with us. So it's about 50 meters away from. So the workflow is very easy. And of course, we are a small business. But I hope that these legislations will actually bring the manufacturing back to us, especially in Estonia. There is a very strong tradition for manufacturing of clothing.
In Estonia, recycling is actually still a problem, especially in printing. I recently called our biggest waste management company, and asked where to bring 4,000 ink cartridges empty. And they said that, just come and dump it in general trash, which I declined, and I'm still stuck with this.
I also think that it's not so specific about from country to country. So if there's something close by, not every country needs to have a big manufacturer for digital printing or waste management or textile recycling. So if there's something close by, I think Finland actually there's a part of the production we can do over here for this waste management. So not every country needs to have a nuclear power plant or so if we cooperate within Europe a lot more, then I think they will be more beneficial.
Cooperation. This is really the word. Yeah, we have to cooperate.
Yeah.
I've recently had a similar situation with the fabrics because as far as I know, there are no options to recycle fabrics in the Baltics. And there is a project being developed in Latvia. They are gathering information whether this is needed, how many companies are there in the Baltics who would be willing to pass their leftovers or what kind of leftovers are there, etc. They are gathering information in order to decide whether they're going to build it up or not.
But this is a problem, everywhere. I live in Berlin, and to take your clothes somewhere, or clothes that you can't take to a charity shop, there's not a lot of places, or they are somewhere scattered around town where you really have to look for them. And there is textile waste that's really hard to actually get rid of. So a lot of people just leave them on the street, and hopefully someone else will take it. But they're usually in a really bad quality and need.
Any more questions or comments? Yes.
As we've learned, to print on a fabric, you have to have prepared the fabric, to put some kind of primer on there and aftercare. How much do you keep in mind in the process of producing fabrics the fire retardant finish, or keep in mind whether those fabrics have that kind of standard or not? And if you do, how does it affect the printing?
There are fabrics which have the fire retardancy applied as a chemical, and it can be also in the fibers prior to the fabric is produced. For example, we have a fabric like that for public spaces, which has necessary certifications for Europe and United States as well. But generally speaking, for those projects which require this, it's recommended to either specifically work with the producers of the fabrics which specialize on this, or at least source the fabric which has the necessary qualities. For example, our fabrics don't have this, only one for such projects. But as far as I know, there are companies which specialize on this. So if you require it, it's possible to bring in the fabric and then later print on it. Usually there is no trouble. Depending on the fabric composition, the technology would be chosen, and then the rest is just the same as it is for the regular fabric, at least with our technologies.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a comment about, you mentioned that keeping the fabric variations as minimal. Yeah, I agree with that as for cost per meter, but it's always nice and always valuable to have to be hungry and try new things, at least like one roll per sometimes, to choose and test another variation of fabric. This is like, for example, we found a new fabric for sportswear which we currently use, and it was like a big hit recently. So we just like tried and tested, and it became our main fabric. So always nice to try new things. Maybe it will become something which you use regularly. And for the China and Asia, it was for a long time that China was more of a mass market producer, and we in Europe and like West were more like focused on designer brands and like small batch production, which is like higher cost but like something more unique. But it's also changing because we see a lot of emerging brands and designers from China, Indonesia, and like Korea as well, which are like also focusing on higher priced and more like a small batch production of designer clothing and various fabrics as well. So thinking outside of the box like is well not something we can do, but we need to like look even more further than
I
that.
think the thing with China also is that China's middle class is growing. China is the second biggest economy. There's people that don't want to work for pennies anymore. So I think the cost of their production will also go up. People don't want to work 6 days a week. I think eventually will even out. I mean, yes, there's other countries in Asia that we can produce as well, but yeah, I think China will have the same problems in Europe, that manual labor will be harder to find.
But it will take some more time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Regarding challenge, I want to say that if someone have or some company have already established a traditional line that including pre-treatment, printing, and then finishing. So if this company want to replace this set with digital printing, do they need to replace everything or just to replace the printing machine? If it is so, then how it will be compatible with this established line? Or if they need to replace everything, just need to establish only one printing machine without pre-treatment, without after treatment or finishing, then how this print quality will be and how its durability will be?
So, I mean, we have really one customer in Germany who replaces the rotary screen printing with digital printing. So he had a fully equipped textile industry, and due to changing orders, he stopped with the mass production on rotary screen, and he bought 2 digital printer, and the rest he's still using. So it is possible. So then he was also able, without making too many costs for screen engraving and all these things, and he could react flexible onto smaller orders. He was not bound anymore to a minimum order quantity. And the quality from digital printing is the same as for rotary screen printing. The only thing, however, is the through print. So as you can imagine, when you print with a screen, you can really press the printing paste into the fabric. And with digital print, very, very small drops are flying or jetted onto the fabric. So you cannot achieve the same through print by digital printing compared with rotary screen. But all the other features and fastnesses and everything, they are really comparable.
This comes to the question, why are we still using rotary printing?
Because it's cheap. And for a special effect paste, we cannot talk about inks because they are not available as inks. There you need a screen.
Mm-hmm.
You really see less and less of it, I think, in the market, no?
Yeah, so generally speaking, rotary screen printing is still the number one. And I know in the very beginning everyone said, oh, digital printing will replace. No, I don't think so. I really don't think so. But yeah, rotary screen printing will be less, and digital printing still is a niche, but it's growing. And comparing with the rotary screen, it's growing harder. But nevertheless, it will really take time. So I don't see that, I really don't, personally, my personal point of view is, I don't see that digital printing will replace rotary screen printing in the next 5 or 10 years. I don't think so.
Maybe from my side, because we are in an academic setting in a university, so looking ahead, what are the key areas for research and development in digital printing? Maybe also thinking a bit further than textiles, like printed electronics is a big topic. But what do you see as research and development really needs to look into for digital printing to move forward, to have this out-of-the-box thinking?
I think one important point is really keep the knowledge up of the standard fabric treatment. So how are fabrics made and what are the basic principles of pre and after treatment? Because, yeah, when I look back, so in former times when somebody was working in the textile industry, he really, he had to learn for this job. 2 years at least, or when you wanted to become a printer, 3 years. Nowadays, everybody can do it in a garage at your home with your own printer. This is fine, this is great, but these people forget very often that it's not only printing, that there comes also something before and afterwards. I would say first keep the knowledge and then look further. And yeah, printing electronics, what I said, their printheads are very important. And but nevertheless, look for alternative regarding chemistry, how to work with environmental friendly chemicals or skip as much chemicals as possible. And look for maybe new dyes. And also there I saw really impressive results. So there are things, a lot of startup companies are working on it. So it is possible.
When we work with our clients, we directly, for those who are like more business clients, it would be very nice if they were more educated on how to, and this is where we invest also our time, if they would know how to get the best of each technology, because every single technology has its pros and cons, and every fabric can be printed amazingly on a certain printer, and another fabric on the same printer would be a disaster. And if we get order and we see that it's a bad choice, we explain why and we try to deliver information on what can be improved. And on the other hand, not always at the other side, at the customer side, they understand this idea that it's better to change your idea and to get a good result unless to pursue something you don't really get in the end. Or maybe just you need another technology or you need another fabric. So this match of the 2 or 3 aspects together is a knowledge that many designers and brands somehow don't have. And it seems to be our thing to do when we work with the customers to get a better result, and in the end a happy customer who will tell that we helped them.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I see this also because I sometimes help brands with printing, and they don't sometimes even know that you can't get like intense neon colors on chiffon because see-through colors, see-through fabrics, you can't have bright colors on it. So it's something very like simple and silly. There's a lack of knowledge in that regard as well.
And sometimes the customers just gets, very irritated, like, I want this. And you try to explain that you want an impossible thing, and then you need to change.
How many times have you had to tell the customer that, no, you cannot sublimate on cotton?
Yeah, quite a lot of times. True.
Okay. And maybe from that to also research and development into sustainability or reusability of printed digital printed fabrics. That do you see how not just recycle the things or how to get the dye out, but how to reuse or how to prolong the lifetime of the digital printed fabrics. Difficult question.
The fabrics needs to be treated delicately with love.
Follow washing instructions.
The more you love the fabric and you treat it delicately, longer it lasts. If you just want to throw it with the black and wash it on high temperature, what do you expect? It's just...
These chemicals that we use for washing have become so strong that we actually don't need to boil our clothes. I think this is
That's
something
true.
that's... I have a friend who's very tall, he's about 2 meters tall, and he doesn't know how to wash his clothes, and he buys really nice things, so I always get the leftovers. These pants are actually from him, they fit me perfectly, so yeah, people really boil their clothes.
Yeah. Okay, so I think our panel is kind of concluding. Let's say it's a perfect world. What do you envision as a future of digital printing? What's in a perfect world? What would happen? What's the best good thing to do? What to look out for?
Print on demand. Print on demand to avoid all the waste.
What I would like to see, why am I looking so forward to this legislation, that I really hope that all the cities in Europe will look a little bit different, because right now it's all the same shops, it's all the same products. It's funny that, when you're in a certain place, have a Gap store that you mean within 50 meters there's an H&M, there's a Zara and so on, and they all have very similar products. So on demand is fantastic, because I think there will be more exciting products to come along, because I think it's really quite boring what we have in stores.
And just to add, and all cities look the same. When you go to the main shopping street, you have always the same shops.
Goddamn airports. It's like airports should have local stuff in them.
Yeah.
This is something that's just like you buy the perfumes. It's always perfumes.
I also see in the perfect world that there are more creative people who gain the opportunity to deliver the creative results to people. The same thing, we just came back from Netherlands and we didn't know what to bring to our family, because it's all the same what we have here in the shop. So what is the exclusiveness of going somewhere where you don't even get the presents, which are different from what is in the nearest shopping mall? So this is what our investment into this idea is, our company, where smaller brands and people with a creative vision can create something and sell it online by means of the Instagram or whatever other platform. And they can actually start selling before producing. So there are quite many customers of ours who create prototypes, then gain orders, and only then they produce.
This was a crazy thing that we did when the pandemic started, and there were these fabric masks that a lot of people did. So we did like we photoshopped how these masks would look. Then we knew that we had delivery for fabrics, printed fabrics, within a week, I think. And then we had another, because the delivery time was 2 weeks, and within that 1 week had to produce, and we had a lot of orders, and we somehow managed, and somehow it worked. But yeah, with smaller things it's easier, because people, if you buy something bigger, there's always this chance of whether this is like a viable place to buy things.
I believe the challenge with the masks was that unpredictable demand. The demand was much higher than you would expect, while with a smaller brand, for instance, you still can foresee more or less how many meters they can they might need within a season. It might be an optimistic, but still, it doesn't multiply by tens or hundreds of times,
In a perfect world, more predictability. That would be great.
I'm looking forward to new ink chemistry that enables this print on demand. We can ditch the harmful chemicals.
Okay, then I want to thank the panel and thank the audience for participating. So. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.